and welcome to ELA 9 Distance Learning, a YouTube lesson series on argumentative essay writing with me, Mr. Smith. Today, we're going to be talking about rough draft writing and research. We've already covered all these things. We're at the point now where I'm not going to go back through. If you need to go back and look at some, you can cover any of these 7 videos that we've already talked about. But today, we're going to be talking about rough draft writing, and we're going to be talking about research. As I said in my previous video, the first 7 videos were really kind of the main significant videos that I wanted to focus on, and videos 8 through 13 are going to be a little bit more review in nature. So they'll be a little bit shorter, but they still will be significant. If you really have concerns over the elements of the assignment, I definitely would suggest going back and looking at videos 1 through 7, because those are the things that are talking about newer content. So some of the stuff in 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 might be a little bit review. But other than that, let's get started. Other things I want to talk about is always just be sure to smash that like button down here somewhere. Like and subscribe. I don't know where they are yet, but they're somewhere down here. And we'll get into it. I've moved everything around, but right now we're rough drafting and researching. And the idea here is to focus on how we can construct a strong rough draft and then get into the basics of researching. And for the idea here in the design, it makes more sense to go over research first. So I've got some stuff in here that you've already got in your packet, but there's also going to be some new information here that I want to talk about. I'll get myself a little bit further out of the way here. I'm hiding down here. That's me, right? So research material, we've already said before, can aid you in disproving and proving your content. So you want to use research that you're finding, the content, the information that you're seeing through, in this case, probably the internet. The easiest thing that you're going to be able to access is information throughout the internet. If you're doing the Romeo and Juliet versus, being the most, famous love story of all time, you're probably going to use the text as your source of information. But other than that, if you're doing any other topic, you can find information on the internet. So when you're doing your research, be sure to support your claims with evidence. And your paragraphs, your body paragraphs in this case, are going to start with topic sentences, which we'll get to in a second. The idea being that you want to make sure that your research is clearly proven by these reasons. So I always go back to the idea of Coke versus Pepsi, because I think that's the easiest example. So if my claim, my thesis, my main belief is that Coke is better than Pepsi, I would say one reason is that Coke tastes better than Pepsi. So that would be the topic sentence. My first body paragraph would be one reason why Coke is better than Pepsi is the taste. So then I would have to go on the internet and I would have to find evidence that supports why I believe that. I would find that evidence, maybe data, maybe people that have research, or maybe people that have stories, and then I would put that in my body paragraphs and explain that reason. And then the next body paragraph would have a different topic sentence, which would be a different reason. It might be something along the lines of another reason why Coke is better than Pepsi is because it has better sales, right? Different, right? And then I can find evidence that supports that. So if we look at some examples of research, going back to the packet, then I'm skipping around a little bit just because, like I said, some of this stuff is review. Numbers 1 and 2, I think. Numbers 5 are things that you can look to that I think are helpful. But the things that I really thought would be helpful here would be to talk about numbers 3 and 4. So what we see here when we're doing our internet research is to be smart about our internet research. What we want to do is we want to use a really established search engine like Google. It says Bing here. Bing is maybe a little bit dated for a lot of people. For me, I like to use Google. The way I think about a search engine, people oftentimes will say that Google is their favorite source. I don't consider Google, nor do many people consider Google to be a source. Google is a search engine. It is what you use to find your sources. Just like I would not say that if I'm looking somewhere, I wouldn't say that, oh, wow, it's beautiful over there. I'm looking through my glasses. I'm like, wow, these glasses are beautiful. No, I'm looking through the glasses to see things that are beautiful, if that makes sense, right? So you use something like Google to find something that you're seeing, right? So Google is like glasses. It's something that you use to see, right? It's a search engine. It helps you find your information. So the way that you search into Google is going to help you, right? What you see up here is using different symbols, different phrases. If you use complete sentences in your search, then it's going to be harder for you to find specific information versus being a little bit more specific. The other thing that we want to talk about when we search is we want to understand the way in which searches are done. So if you search, for example, and you use, as sometimes students do, the first and second result, oftentimes those are going to be advertisements. So you have to look to make sure that you're seeing that things are advertisements. And then you also want to make sure that the results that you're getting, the first and second result, aren't always the best results for you. You have to kind of figure out for yourself what you need. So an example of this, and we'll come back here, is I searched for our example, COVID-19. You see right here, COVID-19. So if we look, there are over 6 billion results that we found in less than half of a second. That's a lot of results, right? So if going off of those results, we see they're immediately going to give us these top stories. Some of them came out in less than 5 minutes. Some of them are 8 hours old. I don't even know where that is from. And then one of them is 1 hour old from CNN. Now, this is about how the rich fight COVID. I might just want information about COVID. So I might use this information about here, but I don't know where this source is from. Down here, I'm getting information from Health NY. I'm getting information from the Center for Disease Control, because I know that's what CDC stands for. But my example I wanted to show you was, if we look at our first three results, we see the WHO, the World Health Organization, which is a world source, the Center for Disease Control, and the Center for Disease Control, which are national results. But then we go down here and we look at our first few results. The first result that comes up down here is from Washington. Why would I want a result from Washington, right? And we get Ohio right here. So it's just interesting where if people came down and clicked through, the first result they might pick after they go through these, recommended ones is from Wisconsin. So it's just interesting. And it's also 5 days old. So these are the things that we're talking about when we're talking about being strong in research, looking at the date, because right now we want the most accurate and current research that we can find about this information. So something from 5 days ago might not be great. Something from a week ago right here is probably maybe even less so. We want stuff that's up to the minute, right? Up to the second if we can get it, and stuff that has the most kind of scientific content. If I'm finding somebody's local source, then I probably don't want that. Or if I find somebody's piece of information that's from like their personal webpage or from their Twitter account, again, I probably don't want that. So when we're searching through Google, those are the things that we want to make sure that we're looking for. And we're looking for the date that they came out and who was putting them out, and making sure that they're not an advertisement. Because if it's an advertisement, then they're paying the search engine money to get that result put up there higher, so people will click on it, and the person can get more views. So that's just something to consider. So we also want to make sure that we look at focus, right? And again, this is something that I hope people recognize, but if I'm doing research, I want to be focused on my research. So maybe I'm just going to do 30 solid minutes of research. I put my computer away, or my phone away, I put everything else away, and I just am focused on maybe half an hour of really strong research, not having my phone next to me, not doing other things, not having Netflix on in the background. It's just my research. And then when I'm done, then I can do my social media and other stuff. So those are the two real significant things I wanted to talk about when it comes to research. So if we have some good research, then we can get back into talking about how to do, like we said, our rough draft. So now, when I'm talking about drafting, the first thing we want to talk about in our draft is taking our research notes, which we've now already kind of created, and our outline and our graphic organizer, because by now those should be done, right? You've done those, right? So you take those and you begin the process of writing a rough draft. You follow your organizer, which you've done, you follow your outline, and you start writing your intro. So you like we've said before, this is where you're getting your audience's attention, and you just start writing. If you can't think of a really good introduction, you can just write something, because the idea, and this is the problem that a lot of students have, and we're going to get to this in a second when I talk about some tips. If you can't think of a great introduction, just write an introduction, just write a sentence and put it there, because the next step is revision, meaning we know we can go back and fix it. If you're writing it to make it as good as it can be, if you're trying to make your perfect draft right now, then you're not doing this right, because we're going to go back and fix it. That's the idea of a rough draft. A rough draft, it just has to be, it can be rough. If it's got some problems, that's fine, because you're going to go back and fix it. That's the whole point of us doing this, is we're going to make some corrections. I'm going to put myself back up here. So once we've done our introduction, now we can go back, work on the body, looking at those outlines that we've done, looking at those graphic organizers that we've created, right? Don't worry too much about transitions. That's what we say right here. If you can, and you're good at being able to create this is not the only reason why COVID-19 is not as bad as the plague. That's a good last sentence type of transition. But if you can't do that, we'll do that later again when we revise. The biggest problem that a lot of students have is they try to make their adjustments during their rough draft. They try to revise and write the rough draft at the same time. And I'm saying don't do that. We'll look at that again in a second, but write the rough draft. If you know that you've got a really bad introduction, okay, that's fine. If you know that you're struggling with the process of constructing your first body paragraph, get it down, get it so it's manageable, and then you can move to the second one, and then we'll go back and fix it. That's the idea. Then you can write your conclusion, and then you have something. Then you have a rough draft. Because then we'll talk about the next video is revision. We'll fix it. We'll look at how we can fix it. Because that's the biggest mistake a lot of students make, right? Don't stress out over every word. Let the ideas spill. Mr. Zalesnik, another one of the teachers, calls this process sometimes his puke sheet, right? Or his puke draft, meaning you're just getting it out there, right? Don't worry about every word. There's so many students that will work on one sentence and then come up and show it to me at my desk and say, Mr. Smith, what do you think of this? And then go back and write it. And I said, Mr. Smith, what do you think about this? And I say, get out of my face. Go and write. Just let it flow. Think about a faucet. A faucet's not going to fill up a bottle if you turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. What you want to do is what? Turn it on and let it run. And that's what I want you to do. Go, right? So when we think about this, we want to make sure we have good background information from our research, that we have strong topic sentences. If we can do those transitions, do them. But if not, don't worry about them, because we can do them later. And then at the end, if we have any paragraphs, then when we get into those revision type of phase, that's when we can go back and look for more information, because that gives us a good opportunity to do so. All in all, the structure, again, I'd like to bring it back up every now and again, is we have that title, if we haven't done so yet, intro that has our thesis, body paragraphs that have a topic sentence in the beginning, the reason in that topic sentence, and then evidence and then explanation of the evidence. And then you do that two total times, body paragraph, and then a counter argument where you explain what the counter argument is and then why it's wrong, and then your conclusion where you explain all your main points. And that's your essay, right? And so if you've done that and it looks okay, then you're at the point now in our next video where we're going to talk about how you make the adjustments, and that's revision. So other than that, keep on keeping on, and we'll see you soon in video number 9.